We're going to get started with the City of Centerton Planning Commission meeting, May 6, 2025, with the roll call.
Devin Murphy.
Here.
Greg Langford.
Here.
Josh Beckums.
Here.
Lewis. Tony Davis. Curtis Swoboda.
Here.
Curtis Ramsey.
Here.
Jeff Safar.
I'm here as well. Good to see everybody here tonight. Finally got everybody back for a meeting. First thing on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from the meeting of 4/15/2025.
Got a motion to approve the minutes from 4/15/25.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there anyone that's opposed? All right, next on the agenda is the ratification of the admin approvals. And yeah, we walk us through the Hawkbelt Farm split since it was originally D, now it's getting split, some other stuff.
Yeah, I think that one's 4D, right? Do,
Yes.
before we go to that one, can we go to 4C?
Absolutely.
So that's the minor site improvement for the temporary building being placed on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints property on the corner of Seba and Gamble. I just wanted to bring the minor site improvement back to you guys. It has been administratively approved by staff, but I just wanted it to be in front of you guys since it did have a conditional use that was approved. So just as a reminder, that is a temporary building that will be there for a maximum of 3 years is what you guys approved. The proposed location of the temporary building meets all the setback requirements. Minor site improvement and it's for temporary use. The city did not request additional right of way be dedicated at this time. The rest of the report you guys want, but I'm not gonna hit on things I think you guys would want to have highlighted. For the landscaping, there are existing trees in proximity to the proposed location of this temporary building that will be preserved, and then there's landscape screening proposed on the east and north sides of the temporary building to screen it from the public right of way. Gamble Road, which meets the conditions of the approved conditional use. That's the staff's opinion. And then for lighting, there is a parking lot light in close proximity to adequately light the path to and from this building. However, wall packs will also be provided to ensure the entrance to the building is adequately lit. Also to meet the conditions of the approved conditional use. If you guys have any questions or adjustments you want to see, now would be the time.
I'm good with it. Is there anybody that has any questions or concerns?
Because those were our concerns. It was landscape and lighting, I think was the biggest thing.
Okay,
Good, I'll move on to the next one.
yes, please.
Okay, 4D is a minor subdivision for a property we know well on Seba and North Main Street. It's currently the Casa Castillo daycare, and then they're doing a large scale development to build a new building. So this originally had a PUD that expired, but we let the large scale continue because it met all of the requirements. And now they're looking to split this piece of property into 4 lots. So there are some complications with that because there is a pond for that large scale development that's on lot 3. So that's being dedicated as a drainage easement. And then typically with a subdivision that has a pond, we would require them to have covenants. But it's not a residential subdivision, so it doesn't make as much sense because it's commercial. So we talked to the city attorney and he advised that we could put that required stormwater language for the maintenance of the pond on the plat, and that would suffice to make sure that
And I'd like to call it covenant on the plan as well, so that we're kind of still abiding by it.
okay. So we'll add that language to the plat. And then the right of way for Isabel Boulevard will be dedicated with this plat. And then there are some public easements that are being dedicated for the new daycare that's being constructed. And then the parking that was proposed for the daycare, that would be shared parking whenever gets built to the south of it, that will be put in a shared access easement to make sure that parking is accessible because it's between 2 lots.
Not right away.
There,
No, that's just the parking lot.
south of there is.
Okay.
So now, yeah.
The public right of way there.
So is part of that development then, does the street get finished? Does Isabel Boulevard get finished?
With the daycare that's being built, Isabel is getting built out.
And I'm assuming then Everly will only come down to to Isabel, or will it go all the way down now?
I think it only goes to Isabel right now. And it's a private access that runs through, so that's not public.
Okay.
And that easement for Everly is already dedicated from a separate plat.
There's enough right of way on lot 4 to do whatever's gonna have to be done with the utilities and the street and everything else.
Yeah, the right of way for Seba and Main Street was dedicated on previous track splits to meet the master street plan.
Does anybody have any concerns or comments in regards to this one? There were 2 others. Any questions or comments in regards to them? One was a home occupation for electrical, and the other was for a software company. If there's no other questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion to approve the ratification of the admin approvals.
Tony, you make a motion to approve the ratification of. Approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, next on the agenda, is under new business is a public hearing. We actually have several public hearings that are on the agenda this evening. The first one that we have is a conditional use 2501 for Miller. They're requesting a pool house at 1482 LeChesney Drive, lot 71 in the Versailles subdivision. It is zoned R1 and it's 1.76 acres. Is the applicant here to give us an overview?
Yes.
You guys want to come up and give us an overview of what you guys are requesting? I don't care if it's the pool guys or you. Your name and company or however you want to do this.
I'm Daryl Wall with Megalodon Pools. And what we're proposing is to build a pool house. No bedrooms, it's just a bathroom. And kitchen and a area just to gather in. All brick supposedly matches what's in the areas. Brick and masonry. With post beam and siding.
Okay.
All cement.
Thank you, guys. Kayla, do you want to give us a staff overview?
Yes, the applicant is requesting a conditional use for a pool house, which is classified as an accessory dwelling unit or use 25 or Title 14 zoning. The property is approximately 1.75 acres and is lot 71 of the Versailles subdivision, which is located off of Highway 72. The property is zoned low density single family residential R1. Per Title 14, accessory dwelling units must be conditionally approved. The accessory dwelling will have a covered porch, great room, bathroom, outdoor kitchen, storage, outdoor covered patio. The total footprint of the proposed pool house is about 752 square feet. The zoning is listed in your packet for you. The setbacks, it meets the setback requirements. The property is surrounded by R1 zoning because it's within the subdivision. And to the east is Benton County and outside of the city limits. The property can be accessed from LeChesney Drive, which is a local road within the Versailles subdivision. This lot has a septic system, which is serviced, it's serviced by Centerton Water. The pool house is proposed to connect to the existing septic system, which was approved by ADH with certain conditions. That email is in your packet for you if you'd like to look at it. The Versailles subdivision has covenants that specify requirements for architectural treatment that must be approved by the subdivision's architectural control committee. Please note that covenants are private agreements between the POA and residents within the subdivision and are not enforceable by the city. Other than the specific sections the city is named. In terms of approval, we recommend that's an indefinite period of time from the date of PC approval. With other ADUs, we've had it where the approval of this use permit expires within 1 year of construction, if construction has not begun. and will require additional reapplication and approval. If the building is damaged or destroyed by 50% or more, the conditional use application will be terminated and a new conditional use application will need to be submitted. For POA approval, we just wanted to reiterate that a set of protected covenants were recorded for Versailles in 2006. Any action by the POA in relation to the covenants would be fully independent of the city's determination on this conditional use application. And the final determination on this application in no way relieves a responsible party from any provision or responsibility to said covenants. Other than that, we just have the general conditions that are listed in your packet for you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't see the approval letter, is it?
Did it make it in there?
Items. No, ADH approval.
Diane, are you able to pull it up?
I think so.
Back with you, okay?
Well, Diane's looking for that. Are there any questions or comments from any of the commissioners before we open up to the public?
If you scroll down, Diane, it's on the second page. And we sent this approval over to the building department to double check that this was sufficient for them because they made the original comment about the septic system needing to be evaluated, and they said that this met their requirements.
Okay. Thank you.
Doesn't have any dwelling unit. If it doesn't have any interior rooms or dwelling unit, then what makes this an accessory dwelling unit?
You said, John, we can't hear you.
Item number one, that approval letter said it can't, obviously it can't have any internal, or was it, no beds or living quarters, then what makes this an accessory dwelling unit if you can't dwell in it?
You can dwell in it.
It says no living quarters.
You can have a kitchen and a bathroom and a great room.
I think-
Define dwell and live. Define dwell.
Wouldn't qualify as as a bedroom because there's no closet, but.
It's on septic and.
It just sounds contradictory. That's what I'm saying.
That's from ADH's. I think the difference between ADH's definition of a dwelling unit versus our code's definition is not the same. But for our code, based on what they're proposing, it was an ADU.
Okay.
All right, if there's no questions, then I would open it up. I'd entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
This is Craig. I make a motion to open the public hearing for CU 25-01.
John, a second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing. Is there anyone opposed? We are now open to the public in regards to conditional use 2501 for the pool house at 1482 LeChesney Drive, which is lot 71 in the Versailles subdivision. If there's anyone that wishes to speak, have any questions or comments, we'd ask that you come to the podium, state your name and address, and any questions, concerns, or comments. Second call for anyone that wishes to speak. And third and final call.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is there anyone that's opposed? Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners in regards to the conditional use request?
To say, to answer John's question, it'd be like a studio apartment. You don't need to have separate bedrooms to be considered a dwelling.
We're not gonna beat the dead horse.
Yeah, that's fine. I just didn't know. I mean, I was asking, I didn't know if they're required to even submit anything, because
Yeah.
it's not a dwelling unit.
So with that, I would entertain a motion for the conditional use 2501 for the pool house at 1482 LeChesney Drive.
John, I motion to approve conditional use 2501.
Craig, a second.
Motion and a second. Do a roll call vote for me, please, Samantha.
Tony Davis.
Yes.
Brent Swoboda.
Yes.
Joey Engel.
Yes.
Ben Lewis.
Yes.
Devin Murphy.
Yes.
Don Sessoms.
Yes.
Craig Langford.
Yes.
Curtis Ramsey. Jeff Safar.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
As a side note, is that really our first conditional use?
It's a good bit of time to get.
Dwelling is not a dwelling.
Their septic system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dwelling, you can't leave it.
We did,
Church. I thought, didn't we do one?
Plenty
We've done-
sense.
we've done some, but
Hey.
I mean, when it came,
we're not going backwards.
not going backwards.
All right, next on the agenda is also public hearing, and this is for rezone 2504 for Suresh. It's a rezone request from R1 to C2 at 196 Western Heights Circle, Lot 8, Block 2, Western Height number 2 subdivision. It is a half an acre. Is the applicant here to give us an overview of what you're requesting?
We are planning to have a
Name and address, just so she has a.
Shekhar Daddy from Pentonville, 4506 Southwest.
This is Suresh Kumar Babu, and the owner of that property.
Thank you.
If we are trying to build a small or use this facility as a doctor's office to have like people come and go considering the surroundings as well, to have the less traffic. And doctor's office generally have like 2 to 3 appointments in an hour. And that is our current proposal to ensure that we get like some of the rezoning part, or like most of that part to the C2 according to the which is on the Central Boulevard.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, would you like to give us a staff overview, please?
This property is located at 196 Western Heights Circle. The current zoning is R1, which is low density residential, and they are proposing C2 for highway commercial. Their intent is to develop after rezone. We did receive 3 comments via email, and they met all of their publication notices. It's located on the southeast corner of Western Heights Circle and West Centerton Boulevard. To the north across West Centerton is a residential property zoned A1. To the east is the Maddox Apartments zoned R4MF and undeveloped land zoned C2. Directly adjacent to the west is a residential property which is zoned A1, and directly adjacent to the south and surrounding is the Western Heights subdivision, which is zoned R1 and R2. This property has access from Western Heights Circle. There is an existing residential home on the property, which would become non-conforming upon a rezone to C2 due to the setback requirements we have for C2. The requested zoning and setbacks uses. C2 is intended for those businesses which cater to the highway traffic, such as service stations, drive-in restaurants, motels, supermarkets, and similar businesses. We have attached as well a list of permitted and conditional uses for C2 for you guys to review. And listed is these building setbacks for C2. The parcel has existing access off Western Heights Circle, which is designated as a local/neighborhood road with a right-of-way of 50 feet for the master street plan. There's no direct access from the parcel onto West Centerton Boulevard, but it is designated as a major arterial with a right-of-way of 100 feet per the master street plan. The parcel is approximately 0.38 miles from the proposed Highway 279 roundabout. An additional 20 feet of right-of-way will need to be dedicated along West Centerton Boulevard with a large-scale development. For the utilities for this lot, they have existing connections to Centerton Water and Sewer. For the land use plan, this area is designated as part of the Centerton Boulevard corridor, which is over 6.5 miles long and includes a mix of housing, commercial, industrial, and employment uses. This parcel is also part of the Highway 279 character area, which serves Centerton's regional commercial hub with deeper lots that can accommodate big box development. This portion of the corridor has the capacity to accommodate a significant amount of commercial development. Based on the goals outlined in the comprehensive plan, the request to rezone the property to C2 highway commercial is consistent. However, the adjacent property uses should also be considered. As for the surrounding zoning and the existing uses, this property is a 0.5 acre platted lot within the Western Heights subdivision. The property is surrounded by larger existing residential lots with low density residential use ranging from 0.5 to 1 acre, with West Centerton Boulevard to the north. The nearest C2 commercial uses are approximately 0.1 miles from the property, which is the KO Storage to the west and the Apple Creek Assisted Living north of West Centerton Boulevard. The future land use plan, for PC's consideration, the future land use plan shows a commercial corridor in this area. However, rezoning the one residential lot may not be compatible at this time due to the proximity to the low medium density residential with a concern for sufficient buffering and space. It may be difficult to develop this property according to the development standards and the Z2 zoning requirements. Listed in your packet as well as the comprehensive plan alignments for the different items for your determination for consistency or not consistent. And the commission will be asked to consider the following of the request to rezone from R1 to C2. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners before we open it up to the public?
I do have one question, make sure I understand this. So if by any chance, we would be creating a non-conforming use of a structure. Bringing this reason.
The structure would become non-conforming due to the building setback and right-of-way dedications that would be required with a large-scale development.
Okay.
If there are no other questions, then I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
It's John, a motion to open a public hearing for rezone 2504.
Second.
Motion is second to open the public hearing. Is anyone opposed? We are now open to the public. Before I invite anyone up, I'll just recap the three emails that we received. So if you're here tonight, just let me know that you're here as well. First one is from Katiera. Just writing concerns, opposing. I'm summarizing these in regards to a few concerns. One, it doesn't match the comprehensive plan. More traffic and parking and noise, and potentially opens the door for more rezoning requests that could change the neighborhood for the worse, is what she had to say. The second letter looks like it's from Veronica. You want to speak then? Do you want me to read it? So again, similar concern. She does live in the Western Heights. Again, saying that it conflicts with the comprehensive plan. The concerns, again, conflict with the land use plan, increased traffic, which is also safety for children and pedestrians, noise, lighting, and parking problems that would be incompatible, lowered property values, and risk of spot zoning that could destabilize the neighborhood's character. And then the third letter, it looks like we received is from Ashante. And again, recently purchased property in Western Heights. Not planned, or she's not sure what's planned. She's against it. Personal things. And then her biggest would be safety and quietness of the area is the reason that they bought it, and they have concerns for that.
Question, sorry, to go back. What are the lot dimensions?
It says half acre.
Well, I know, but we're losing 20 feet to right away.
For the lot
Lot
dimensions,
dimensions.
like 20 feet of right of way. Difference.
My share. Right now. I think up aerial, make it easier for me to see what I'm up to. All right, it looks like there's already been right of way provided. I don't know how much, let's find out. Possibly 41 feet, probably 40 feet of right of way has already been dedicated. Possibly.
I think that's from center line.
Yeah.
From the others, yeah.
I'm more concerned about the lot.
I'm just.
No, I'm asking if they.
Here.
They're gonna.
And if we were to do
Just give me the depth, please.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. Oops. Nope, let's try that again. And jumped. Approximately,
160.
it'll take a couple of feet. And this way. About 140. 60 by 1. Ish.
Thank you.
All right, we aren't open to the public. If there's anyone that wishes to speak, we'd ask that you come to the podium. Name and address and any concerns that you might have in regards to this rezone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Dorflinger. My wife and I live on the south side of this property here at 195. I sent an email in late this evening about 4:30. Obviously, you didn't get a copy of it yet. Maybe that's just a little too late. My concerns are the same as everybody else's. We live in a residential neighborhood. That's where we invested our money, was in that home. The street is very narrow there. It's not a wide street. We have no curbs. We are concerned about the increased traffic in the area, the noise in the area. And the fact that, if this property gets rezoned to commercial, then we have no control over it whatsoever. No say so in it. And that's what I mean at that point. If it gets rezoned commercial, then they say they're gonna put a doctor's office in there. They can put in there whatever they want. And, we don't have any control or say so on it at that point. So, there's a covenant on that neighborhood. You folks got a copy. Item number 4. No part of said premises shall be used for commercial or manufacturing purposes. How's that gonna figure in?
We don't control the homeowners associations, POAs, anything like that. So
It's not in
we
it.
simply look at the piece of property and we'll go through what we go through here in a few minutes. We look at the use, we look at our comprehensive plan and we make a determination from there. If it's against whatever the POA or HOA, then that's between the HOA, POA and the property owner.
Well, there is no POA or HOA. It's just. And that's all I've ever been
Understand,
privy to.
understand.
Any member who is bound by the covenants could file suit against another member that's bound by the covenants in civil court if.
Yep.
If the plan commission.
To include people who purchase a property later on. Such as.
It'd be a violation, and that's, I don't want to get into your rights and it's based on contract law.
Okay, our thoughts are we don't want. Thank you, Claire.
Next person who would like to speak or have any questions or comments?
Richard Stark, I live at 195 Western Heights, which is directly across the street. My concerns are the narrow street. That's my main concern. And it's the fact that it goes commercial and he leaves, what's gonna come in next, whatever. Okay. Place I know is on city, not on city sewer, on a septic system. I don't know if that would have any bearing. Parking will be another thing. And he says it's gonna be a doctor's office. I question that. Because there is a for lease sign on the property. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I would be consider the road being narrow.
Veronica Garces, 184 Western Heights Circle. I live right across Bill. Our concern is the street. Right now, it's safe. If you look down the street, there's a corner store. And I'm sure at one point it was new, beautiful, but the neighborhood looks out of bad movie. There's one way in, one way out of our neighborhood. So traffic right now with school in the morning, it's already bad as it is with that road, Centerton Boulevard Road. With this, it's only gonna make it worse for us, because we have to leave maybe 20-30 minutes before the traffic starts in the morning to get, our kid to school. Then we don't have to be there till 7:30. We have to leave maybe at 6:30, 6:40 to just beat the traffic. That's only gonna increase traffic more. We're not against new businesses, but in our neighborhood right now, it's quiet. It's safe. You can leave things out there. It'll be there in the morning, the next day. What I'm saying is it's only gonna attract people that's not in our neighborhood. Right now, we feel safe there with like how they mentioned, they come in as the doctor's office, they leave, corner store pops in. People come in, they illicit, they outside at the corner stores, we're just attracting people that we don't know. Our kids play outside. There's always kids running around, traffic increasing. We don't know who's coming in. Cars are coming in fast. Our kids can get run over. It's just the safety that we have, and we feel safe at home. But with something like this popping in, they can leave it for a year, gas station, whatever they want to have. Who knows, what's gonna happen to our, calmness in the neighborhood. So hopefully you guys can consider that and, consider that.
Thank you. What was your name again?
That's in conjunction with the email that you sent, right? You want to add those comments to your email?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Christine Dorfling and my husband spoke earlier. I just have one thing to say. I was reading in a letter that this gentleman is an investor. So we invested in our home. And I don't want commercial. So I have to say.
Anyone else wish to speak? Have any questions or comments? Second call for anyone who wishes to speak. And third and final call.
On a motion to close the public hearings. We going 504.
Second.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is there anyone that's opposed? Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners before we go through our considerations?
I think were you going towards the preservation of intent of creating nonconformity? Did they not build or we stuck with the nonconforming?
What I was saying echo there, is that spoke, is that this is C2 zoning in a commercial residential, not even C3. C3 is a
little more restricted.
is a service oriented, and C2 is more like a for-profit. So, and I think everybody knows my position. I'm all for commercial, but I don't see in my personal opinion, myself personally, is I'm gonna vote to create a non-conforming structure in something that doesn't fit the way you have to use it.
Changed it to C3 would create the non-conforming structure the same way, Tony. Right?
I think he's saying C3 might be less.
No, I'm not even saying C3. I don't think that's why.
Yeah.
But I think your point's still valid either way. I mean, the preservation of intent, Event around it. The intent was that to be a neighborhood.
So
The setbacks in C3 would be smaller. They're 25 front and street side. So.
What are setbacks
It would be
for this?
50 feet. front.
So I didn't even take that into account here. I drew a quick sketch with giving 20 foot of right of way, because I don't think 40 foot half right of way is enough.
No, they would have to give.
Do 20 extra feet.
So just to get, just running north to south, you got 20 foot right of way, dedication, 10 foot strip landscaping, parking, a driveway, a building, and then coming to the south side, you got a driveway, more parking, like head south, and another landscape strip. That's 132 feet worth of non-buildable area.
You'll have
That's 160. I don't,
Building can be 30 feet wide.
so I know staff mentioned that in the report, and I think I agree with that a lot. That's why I do think, one, with our driveway access spacing, they will have to access off of Western Heights, they won't have to access off 102.
questions.
So that would be something they'd have to do, so they'd have to do upgrades on Western Heights for their length of the property. With the highway widening there or no?
Not yet.
Okay, I was wondering if they
No,
widened.
just past it.
It stops just before that, I think that.
Okay, never mind, I was wondering if it was gonna be non-conforming to the widening, but that's not occurred.
There are plans to widen all the way down to Bond.
Someday.
I don't know how that works out. I'll be dead and gone by then.
Not in the immediate future.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns before we go through our considerations?
I think I just need a little bit of an education about the scenario that's occurring in this moment, because this is currently a neighborhood. Our future land use plan does show commercial all along the road there, both sides. I can't really see enough of the plan that we included here. I know there's a neighborhood back towards Domino's in that direction. I can't remember the name of the neighborhood that's being built out there.
Field.
Right. I'm assuming also the land use plan was supposed to be commercial in the front of that as well, but I don't believe it is so, right? It's gonna be residential all the way up to the highway?
Which one are you talking about?
So if you go,
Side?
Post office?
so,
Hang on a second.
so in the land use plan, it's the strong, obviously all the commercial north of Centerton Boulevard. All the way back towards Domino's. You know what I'm talking about? All the way, there's a new neighborhood being built out there.
On the
correct?
north side?
There's commercial on the front.
I mean, am I getting directly?
This subdivision,
Much all frontage, commercial along.
Are you talking about the one across from the post office?
Yes.
So the one across from the post office is actually gonna have three.
We're gonna have three.
It'll have commercial, then it'll have multi, and then it'll have single residential that will be adjacent to the subdivision that exists today.
Okay, so, but along Centerton
Commercial.
Boulevard, it'll have commercial and multi.
Multi's behind it, I think.
So it's just commercial up front, because I couldn't remember when it
There's a
was.
transition there. It's commercial and then multifamily and then.
So they are gonna have commercial there.
Correct.
Right? I guess I'm, when you have a situation like this, just again, for educational purposes, this is a neighborhood currently. We're basically voting to change this from a full covenanted neighborhood into a partially covenanted neighborhood with a new commercial lot up there. And the other ones that are supposed to eventually fill in over time would have to come as well in order for us to complete the land use plan. They'd have to come.
Typically, even though it's planned for that, typically you're looking at a corridor of development through there. And then you would have, instead of kind of like one, if you do commercial in one area, it needs to be, in my opinion, it should be, you have to look at that compatibility. Because you've got to look at that buffer, and then, whatever buffer, if you do, if there were multiple lots and it was all for development across,
That's a lot easier to have that division point and that less interference.
Yes, I think that's the,
Being surrounded by residential uses and then you. So that's why we do have the C3, which would be the least intrusive for residential.
Brandon, I think what,
You could look
Where
at
you're going.
that,
go ahead.
my opinion, but
I think where you're going though, you look at the other neighborhood with commercial frontage.
Yeah.
There's frontage there for commercial. No one's built there. There's no
That's correct.
house sitting there right
I
now.
think that's where I'm struggling with this scenario.
In this scenario, there's a home sitting there in the neighborhood already.
Well, not just there, but on either side of it.
Other side of it.
Like, like it's not that it's the only one there and then there's open land. There's currently residences on either side of it, and I think that's what I'm struggling with. It's like if it was wide open, I think I'm thinking differently about this scenario.
For me, I get the idea of wanting to build some commercialization to support neighborhoods, but when you rezone the land, you could, for me, it's creating nonconformity. Let's say they back out of their plans and say, I don't want to build a doctor's office anymore. I don't want to build anything. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. We've created a lot that can only be used for commercial now and a home sitting on it that can no longer be used as a home. So now it's just a mess.
well, you're looking at a highway commercial zoning
Yeah.
uses and those are, a heavy intensive commercial use. That's the highest of the three.
We don't have that list up of what's permissible and you have it handy by chance.
It's
Yeah.
Right there.
C2, it's C2, like what's
That's in there.
permissible in C2. So if I say, I don't want to use doctor's office, what can I build there?
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah,
packet.
you've got
Sure.
to-
Yeah.
I don't know if we had it up for everybody else. Auction house, there's a good one.
Auto repair.
Car wash, we need another one of those.
Dentist office?
Just to be clear, we don't have any kind of tool either to require that demo, even, I know they've announced that's the intent, but we don't have any kind of tool to enforce that.
No. Nope. You can do anything on that list if you approve it. Well, that's
On the green.
by
side.
In
right,
the
by
concrete.
green, by yellow, they have to request the yellow stuff.
They would, if they used it for commercial purposes, then they have to go through the building permit and fire code and so forth, and they have,
And they'd have to show where they could fit it on that lot, like Joy. I mean, it's
That they've got what, 30 foot of that.
you can build a coffee house.
Two driveways, driveway on either side. Or, you know.
Put a seven
parking
there.
area. Put sunbird.
All right, I'm gonna go through our considerations, which may help answer some of those questions as well. Brandon, did that answer your question?
It did, thank you all.
So the first one is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan, if not, why? And it is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan with having a commercial type zoning down along Highway 102. Does anybody disagree with that or any discussion on it? Is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? And I think we're gonna get some discussion here. I'm going to throw out a no for me and open it up for you guys to have discussion, primarily because of where it's at within that subdivision, if you will, that wasn't necessarily designated out like some of the other parcels with the intent around it to be commercial. And I'll open it up for opinions and discussion on this one. Does anybody disagree with a no?
That's the question asked, does anybody agree with that?
The next question, would all the permitted uses in the new zone be compatible in this location and the surrounding areas? And again, I believe with the more intense I'll call it designation of a C2 versus a neighborhood commercial, I'm going to say no on this one as well, but certainly opened up to anybody that would disagree.
Not disagreeing, I think just as what John was alluding to, I mean, putting in something like a car wash, which is permitted by right, is not compatible like in that immediate, just supporting that. Not.
The next consideration, would the rezoning provide a benefit to this landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? I don't think it would provide a benefit to just this landowner because we would do the same consideration for each one of the properties that are in the area. Understand that it's part of a subdivision technically, but it is next to Highway 102. So I'm gonna say that it doesn't, but certainly open it up for any discussion or anybody that would disagree with that.
Pull that question back up.
Would the rezoning provide a benefit to this landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area?
I don't know, Jeff, if you take 102 out of the question, would we consider it the same as any other lot in that neighborhood?
But I think you have to consider
Yeah.
102 because that's the reason for the designation, the comprehensive plan.
Of course, the term similar is the vagueness there because there's a property directly to the east of it that if all four of them came in at the same time, would we consider it differently? But if it goes south into the neighborhood, we're not gonna consider that because it's not even by land use considered commercial.
I don't think it impacts anything. And it's just a unique situation where it's already part of a neighborhood. I'm sorry.
So we're still gonna go with no because Samantha has to put it in the notes.
I mean, I wanna make it difficult for her.
If the public is opposed, why? The objections based upon factual information relating directly to this request or opinion based, is any factual information presented prior to this rezoning situation? So I'll just summarize. I agree. I will just summarize some of the concerns that were voiced. Traffic, noise, streets, safety, in regards to things to consider. Unfortunately, if you just look directly at the question, no actual facts were presented, but certainly concerns that we need to think about as we go through our vote in regards to this rezone.
Yeah. Not, again, I'm going to be a dead horse, but while it's not enforceable, is the covenants given to us considered factual information?
I think you can actually treat it as the opinion of people who live there. Like, I mean, this is something that it was placed on the land, you know, they're contractually obligated amongst each other to do so. We have no bearing whatsoever with regards to it, but I think you can look at this as far as what the people who live there and are bound by this is what they wanted.
But I think the actual part is we get into reservation of intent.
Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners? If there are not, then I would entertain a motion for the rezone 2504 with the rezone request from R1 to C2 at 196 Western Heights Circle.
And we'll make the motion in a positive manner.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve rezone 25-04.
Second. Motion and a second to approve. Samantha, if you'll do a roll call for me, please.
Kirk Langford,
No.
Curtis Ramsey,
No.
Devin Murphy, Brandon Swoboda, John Sessoms,
No.
Ben Lewis, Joey Engel, Tony Davis. Jeff Safer.
I'm a no as well. I think the primary thing being compatibility and the high intensity of the C2 commercial relatively close to that neighborhood for the denial tonight. Thank you, guys. All right, next on the agenda this evening is Development 2501, the Mercy Centerton Clinic Addition. These are the preliminary plans. As a reminder, it's at 1225 East Centerton Boulevard. It's in the Willow Crossing Phase 1. The applicant here to give us a quick overview.
John Winter with Olson. It's just an addition to the existing Mercy Clinic on 102. Additional landscaping, additional parking. Landscaping up to code a little bit.
Kayla, you would like to give us a staff?
Because it's mine.
Kayla, I thought.
Oh, ignore that.
Now, what are you gonna say?
Still Tara.
Ignore it. We weren't paying attention. This is in addition to the original Standing Mercy Clinic off East Centerton Boulevard at 1225 East Centerton Boulevard. The size of the property is 1.61 acres. The current zoning is C2, which is highway commercial. Right of way currently exists. The parking as it stands existing is 38 parking stalls with 8 ADA parking stalls. Proposed with the addition is an additional 44 parking stalls. No additional 88 stalls, which has a total parking of 81 parking stalls and 8 ADA stalls. And the drainage report has been approved. This parcel is located at 1225 East Centerton Boulevard, which is just adjacent to the Rose Centerton Strip Mall. The project proposes an addition to the existing Mercy Clinic, the Mercy Clinic 7,351 square foot building. The addition will include one 6,918 square foot building, 44 additional parking spaces, additional landscaping, and a landscaped parking island for the existing lot. On the north side there. The property can be accessed from East Centerton Boulevard, and it does share an entrance with Rose Centerton Strip. This parcel is zone C2, which is highway commercial. The following setbacks are listed in your packet. Centerton Water, Sewer, franchise utilities are available along East. And currently have connections to the existing building, which will connect to the proposed addition. The drainage addition will tie to the Willow Crossing Lot 2D development. Drainage south of the property, the Willow Crossing Pond accounts for the addition of the Mercy Clinic in area of increased impervious surface, and an additional pond is not required for this development. The city engineer has approved the drainage report, but wanted you guys to be aware of its connection to Willow Crossing apartment complex to the south. Right-of-way dedication is not required as right-of-way already exists and compliant with the master plan. This project will provide additional street trees outside of the RDOT right-of-way, streetlights, and a sidewalk connection from Highway 102 to the building. No adjacent street agreement was required for this development. Staff recommends the approval of additional items proposed for the development. The development has an existing entrance from East Centerton and has a shared connection with Rose Centerton Strip, which also connects to East Centerton Boulevard. Per Title 140405F, this development is required to provide one parking space for 200 square feet of building space, which would require only 71 parking spaces. With the development's 46 existing parking spaces and 44 additional parking spaces, this development. I gotta fact check my parking stalls. I believe it is 81 parking stalls total, so they well over meet the total parking spaces allowed or required. Streetlights are proposed at and exist at the entrances and every 300 feet within the development to provide adequate lighting, and the addition does propose wall packs. There is lighting that exists already, but we did have them do an addition to a light at an entrance, and then the addition has the additional wall packs to it as well. Existing landscaping is provided within the open spaces throughout the development and along the frontage of 102. There is an existing fence along the west property line. Additional landscaping is provided along the west property line to serve as a screening between the development between this development and the residential to the west. You can see that they're also providing screening around the dumpster enclosure and the additional street trees that they have on the north side out of that right of way. There are some minor labeling comments that remain, and in your packet, you'll see the landscaping plan, the photometric plan, everything like that. If you have questions, just let me know.
Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners?
Nice landscaping. plan, thank you.
Hard to get out of Joey.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
I think once in 5 years or something. If there are no other questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion. Development 2501, the Mercy Centerton Clinic Edition.
Give me a motion. This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve development 2501 Mercy Centerton Clinic Edition, with the outstanding staff comments.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there anyone that's opposed? All right, thank you. All right, next on the agenda this evening is our final public hearing, and this is for a redraft of Title 15 Code Amendment.
Years for this.
Is it? Damn.
Juliet drove all the way up here, you better give her.
I think so. It's basically. Here, I don't know what you feel is best. Is this the ones today or if they have any comments?
Yeah, however you wanna do
Do
it.
you wanna- Since they've seen it, we've reorganized. And I think it flows much better. We've worked on some things, the chart and requirements. So we can kind of just start where we were. I think maybe just kind of hit the highlights on how it's laid out. Maybe, maybe that would help, kind of how it's laid out and then go through those sections that we kind of made.
And then go through the annotations we made today. Okay. My name is Derek Lynn. I'm a planner and project manager at Garver. And I've been assisting the city with this code update. Since I saw you all last, I was just gonna mention, there's been significant coordination with Public Works, the building official, city engineer, Centerton Utilities. And I think we have a much more robust coordinated code. Okay, so as Laureen said, we'll hit some highlights. This is a great place to start, the table of contents. And so the digital copy that you have, you can click any of these numbered sections and it'll take you right to that. But one thing you'll notice as a change from the last time, I think we had near the bottom of 1501 general provisions. We had dust mitigation. Dust mitigation has been moved down to a more development construction specific. That way it's not just standing out in general provisions like that. There's reference to the city's comp plan. There are comprehensive plat and plan requirements, and that brings all those different aspects that all the different divisions are looking for on a subdivision or a development and puts it all in one concise location so that developers can see that and roll through that. We've got 1504 provisions for subdivisions, so that's everything from tract splits, lot splits, property line adjustments, correction plats, all those sort of things that we think of as minor subdivisions, minor plats. That's kind of how that section starts. And then it gets into our traditional subdivisions that you all look at as preliminary plats first. And then you give them the go ahead to get their pre-con to do construction. So there's guidance on that.
Then there's guidance on, okay, we're nearly almost or we're nearly built out. So then what is the city looking for that final plat process? And then 1505 site development. And so there's a applicability section there. Says what comes in for development. And then the different procedures that's related to that. We've got site design standards. I think building placement standards, parking and drives. That's one we worked a lot with engineering on. We've got development construction, as I mentioned, and then how do you close out and make sure the city gets everything the city needs before they get their keys to the, not keys to the building, but the official closeout of the project. And then improvements in design standards. There's overall connectivity, there's traffic study, there's how do we improve access management throughout the city on an incremental basis with each development as applicable. Block link that helps out with walkability and connectivity. Traffic calming that you all have looked at previously with us. We address all the more detailed things that you can see there on that list there, as well as guidance on how to handle things that can be bonded or not bonded near the end of a project. Landscape looks pretty much like you saw it last time. However, I think the most significant change that I would mention, and planning can speak to this more if they want to add anything. I would say though that they worked a lot with Centerton Utilities, and through a more robust review of the tree list, it's really been clarified which trees are okay for street conditions, which ones should not be planted in along streets. And then there's also clarification about how the city would be looking for street trees really on collector and higher streets. And that is based on those more detailed discussions that planning had with Centerton Utilities and those conflicts in the more limited rights of ways of local. Okay, that's the biggest thing that I can mention. I think as a change to landscape is kind of for right now pulling the focus off of local and trying to really increase the tree canopy on collector and higher. And then we've still got the optional tree preservation and landscape reduction for developers that want to do that. And then the screening requirement to try to make some of these situations where less conforming things that do get approved can be more, can help with compatibility. Lighting and illumination, and then I think definitions, and then that plant list I mentioned as the appendices.
Joey can sleep tonight.
It's been like 10 years, dude.
Wait a while. Glad to see that.
Lorraine or Steph, anything, do you guys want to highlight some things or?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and start with page, the plat and plan.
Page 1. Yeah. Paragraph A.
Yeah. That's not what
Title. We had a good meeting with the city engineer earlier today, and these are the annotations related to that. And these are all annotated on that April 17th copy that was distributed. And so we feel good about these being able to be hashed out over this next short number of days to get it ready to keep moving forward. But there's a couple of, on this first page, I'll just mention, these are a couple of surveying items that he highlighted. We're gonna double check some of these with the surveyor on the team. And so that's that's really what these first ones are related to, some organization of how different surveying details apply to subdivisions versus developments. And if I go over anything that engineering or planning wants to, if you feel like you want to add more that I'm not picking up on, just chime in and cut me off. We need to make sure in the tech reports next time that the tables all print and aren't cut off on one page versus the other page. On easements, Alan, do you want to speak to that one regarding modeling of different easement?
This is for drainage swales, to where when you do drainage swales, there's a requirement for homes to be off of or far enough away from where ponded water will be or flowing depth will be with the 100-year storm. It had noted having multiple storms modeled, which isn't needed for a drainage swale for what we need for up plat. So just getting rid of some of that extraneous analysis they'd have to do.
Are the soils modeled to the 100, not the 10?
For the drainage swale, it's to the 100 because we have that for our separation for the isolation. It's 20 feet horizontally, and a foot vertically, or 2 foot vertically. So it's just the 100. So the 2-year, 10-year doesn't matter. What we do to our storm sewer for a 10-year.
Right.
Okay, this is a quick one. This plat and plan surveying of the storm sewer and drainage, it needs to be more holistic. It's not just what's in the street corridor, but get rid of that so that it's wherever that infrastructure is along that development route, making sure that gets picked up. We're gonna rethink just we're calling this subdivision of land, but it got highlighted today that some of these are applying to other applications that aren't subdivision of land. So do we need to just rethink how that title reads, just so people don't think they can skip over that if they're not doing a subdivision? Add checks to development apps, also drive access for flex spaces. So making sure that proposed drive locations, I think this is probably an oversight that didn't get put on the development apps, but making sure that runs across there for those different applications. Making sure that the sanitary sewer profiles are included on as-built, that's what that one is, and making sure that applies to those apps. If you have a open stormwater swale, we need clarification that those are 20 feet minimum easements, but if it's an underground pipe for stormwater, that can be down to 15. So a request to have that clarification in there.
Eric, I have a question on this one. Is this not needing to be moved to the drainage area since it's stormwater instead of, this is water and sanitary sewer? But we need to put that in the drainage area.
That's a good point. Yeah, it needs to be, that annotation needs to go up to that section you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and soil data, it was mentioned that that needs to be included on as-built, including development final applications, and so that's been checked on that one as well. And that relates to pervasiveness and coefficients for drainage and things like that. We're not final.
I just know yet checked where they say when they're gonna build their pond, they're doing the final plat. Well, the pond will already be done, so you don't need those notes.
So. There are, throughout this copy that we're sharing on here, there are anywhere that anywhere that it says outside city limits or planning area, that is being, I'm not gonna speak to that in detail, and unless someone requests that we go more in detail about it, but I'll just say a quick note is that Arkansas legislation in this last session made some significant changes to what can and cannot be done in planning areas in cities, and you may be aware of that already. And so, Arkansas APA and our team, is, working on kind of what all is coming out of that.
Let me just add real quick, and we're coordinating with the Municipal League in Arkansas Association of Counties. And I guess the best way to explain is right now I'm recommending that we not remove stuff from the code just yet. And the reason is because first of all, it doesn't go into effect, the new law, until the first part of August, okay? And the second part is I think that as we have these discussions with the Municipal League and Arkansas Association of Counties, we're gonna kind of look at different options that the city has. I mean, it's not gonna go back to the way it is now, but I think there may be options for the city to retain jurisdiction in some ways outside the city limits. And so I just don't want to strip it out of the code yet, because I think we're gonna be back having those conversations. You're gonna want to say, okay, what are we doing now? And how's it gonna change? If it's already all stripped out of the code, then you know what I mean? It's gonna be hard to have a conversation. But we'll know in about 2 weeks, kind of that's when we're trying to figure out what the consensus is going to be, working with the staff attorneys, specifically with the Municipal League. But I think there could be options for, having agreements between the city and the county about how to handle, developments in specific locations. And I don't know that would be allowed if you have those agreements. And then there's also some complexities because the legislature that saw fit to strip that out of the code, of the state code, did a sloppy job of it. And he left there's bits and pieces in other parts of the state code that still reference extraterritorial jurisdiction. So we need to talk through what that means and kind of how to resolve those. So it's a little messy, but I do think that we're going to come back with some options, and then cities will look at what works best for them and what they feel comfortable with, and the county, what they feel comfortable with as well. So right now, we leave it and we'll figure it out here in the next month or so, and then the city can decide how they want to move forward. But we'll have good advice, I think, from the Municipal League and everything, and then.
Thank you. John's life depends on it.
Matt's getting kicked off.
I said John's life depends on it, so.
Matt says he's gonna submit my parcel individually.
I haven't,
All right, keep us on track. Keep us on track.
Okay, could we scroll up to the top of 29 just so I can see what that title is? Okay, so this is, we're in the minor plat section, so the lot splits, the property line adjustments, things like that. And as we scroll down and look at the comment, this red line, it also goes into the next page. So this is where we're talking about driveway alignment with public roads. So the planning has been looking for a while at how when people split land along roads, it can create this effect of getting driveway after driveway that is really close, and that can really impact the function of that road to stay efficient, right? And so this is
Too fast on you.
no, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. So engineering just pointed us to make sure that there is an applicable reference back to Title IX that we need to do. So we're going to get that added in there regarding how those are done. And then we're going to also look at, today we ended the conversation. We want to look at not just collector and hire, but how some of these roads that may be local right now may become collector in a couple years. And so letting the city have a way to look at driveway separate, and it doesn't mean that you can't have a lot there. It just means that a shared access easement would kind of reduce the amount of curb cuts. And then when you get off of that, then you go into your property from there. So it just helps with overall efficiency in that.
That's a master street plan?
Well, part of it's gonna be how, where you split for residential, the Title IX. For residential, we don't restrict where your driveways are. Driveways will have less demand on what it is, it takes that safety factor out. But if you're splitting 5 acres and you wanna do 5 1-acre lots at, 80 feet. Rather than having drive, to have them have a shared access drive, because this way they can enforce making sure they meet that separation requirement for that. We have to plot a shared access, whether that's a one-way drive where they have to come off the road and build a road parallel. Or drive going in, that way we can still maintain the separation requirements. The big ones are concerns on like where there are platted roads, but there's some local roads, like where Bates Lane is, Huber, where it dips down in Shady Acres, like that's the area I know the most where there's all local roads. If those all split, we don't have home right off all those. In essence, those are collector roads, so. This is the best way to enforce having the access for residential drives.
80 acres.
Shady out there, man.
Next one.
It's
They're coming after you, John.
Pave it.
after you approve a preliminary plat, it says the following procedures shall be observed. Following the preliminary plat approval, the applicant needs to receive a notice to proceed within 12 months. And I think that's consistent with what is currently in practice, right? And we've had conversations about how they can hit kind of a snag, one thing or another. And so number 2, we had drafted to give them up to 4 months after the notice to proceed to actually begin that subdivision construction. And then you can see here more recently, there was a desire to pull that back more like 2 months or 60 days. I think y'all are seeing where they get that, and then kind of the site goes silent for a while is what we're hearing. So
that one's where same thing, that they start construction within a year, while some do their pre-con at 11 months, 2 weeks, and then just sit on it. After that, like they have Grady Bird, they put erosion control out, then don't do anything for 3 months. So they're trying to meet the requirement. Well, this actually means after your pre-con, you can't sit on it for.
Do you have a metric in there? Like in Bentonville, it's footings within a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I didn't hear
We
you say.
can understand.
Do you have a metric in there? So people don't do that.
That's
Well,
what number
that's
2
what
is.
this is doing. What? With the notice to proceed.
Construction.
Yes, at the pre-construction.
Well, what's considered construction? Cause I come in here and say that clearing and grubbing is construction. That's what I'm saying, a metric.
Isabel tried that, didn't they? No,
We can't use the grading permit as a start of construction.
Yeah.
The start of construction to us is the pre-construction meeting. And then when we issue that notice to proceed, that's their start of construction.
Yeah, but what if your definition of them doing construction within 4 months is different than theirs?
I think in Title 16, there's actually a definition of active construction.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
what was that, what property was it, the daycare where they tried to clear some trees and say we started construction, right?
No, they put some gravel down.
They put some gravel down and cleared the street.
Started.
I don't think so. I was just gonna add along with what Kayla mentioned though, because I asked about, well, how do we these things are happening all over. How do we enforce? How are we informed if someone has started, or not? And they alerted me of about a weekly public works observation inspection reports that happen, or they can at least be alerted, has it started or not.
We're gonna have to change how we do the pre-con, start doing inspection reports immediately, where they say, hadn't started yet. All right, well, now you wait till it started. We'll go back to start. But kind of, they're not gonna try to pull a pre-con early if they're not gonna start.
Any other thoughts on that one?
What's the purpose of pushing it? You guys seem to understand. I'm scratching my head.
Pushing one.
Why the timeline between?
Part of it, so if you have a job that gets approved, well, at this point, you know, today. Now you're turning around, you're gonna wait 18 months to start. If codes change, other development starts putting new restrictions on to where if someone builds now, well, part of that adjacent street, it got change to where they're doing different work, or if you need to put different screening up now, that brings it back to where they have to start again. How fast things change. So this way you're not starting, you're not going, oh, we're just gonna wait. And you need those renewals. Now it's actually, you're not trying to design something, just sit on it.
When they start, you think about it, they're kind of grandfathered at that point. I started my construction. I'm already into this project. I don't have to reconform to anything that changes between now and when I get finished.
Yep.
We've had problems in the past where they didn't start and they come in for a year extension and don't want to conform to the new changes to the code. And they throw down some gravel and say, well, we started construction already.
Makes sense.
Site inspection on. Alan, can you remind me what that note?
Before we do a site final, Public Works goes and does a walkthrough to confirm more of it, more in depth, so. What it does is prevents builders from using us as their quality control. And they're going through and having 4 finals, because we're checking everything instead of them doing themselves. So this delays their whole process, it makes them do their own work, and we get most of everything that's things that need to be fixed caught up front.
Okay. All right, so now we're at site development. And this is a good point. You were calling out, okay, what is applicable? So read number 3, examples of development and construction includes, but is not limited to. And so it's like, it mentions A, new types of development, B, the revision of land use, yada, yada, yada. And that each of those sentences ends with except as otherwise excluded below. And so we just need to clarify, where are you talking about this exclusion? It was intended to refer to number 4, but that's labeled as exception. So we just need to use the same word and even clarify that we're talking about number 4 down there, just so it's not confusing, like where this exclusion is, or that sort of thing. So then also, as far as what is the minimum threshold of creating new impervious area in a green field, or, you know, new sort of situation. This has been drafted, this is drafted currently as an 1/8 of an acre, which is, you know, a little over 5,000 square feet in size. However, we looked together at different on the ground scenarios in Centerton today. They referenced recent projects that have been reviewed. We considered how many parking spots you could get in an 1/8 of an acre versus 1,500 square feet. And we feel a lot better about the minimum threshold. And at that size, you would be subject to administrative review that we'll get to just in a second. But pulling down that minimum threshold to 1,500 square feet. So that's what that change is about.
What that is, I mean, 1,500 feet, if you're adding 5 parking spots, you need to submit something to us to add 5. No. That's really what that is. Do you really have to go through a full submittals to add, you know, 5 parking spots onto your drive?
As long as it doesn't impact the requirements for landscaping. Green, whatever, green space.
Well, the landscaping free
Except-
space of the lower, but
On this next page, where it says minor site improvement, that currently on your copy will say administrative review. So instead of calling it that, just a recommendation to call it the application process that it is. So that's why that red line is there. And then the change here, to allow it to be the minor site improvement application, so long as you're not doing any more than 10,000 square feet of land alteration into new impervious, and no other structures requiring a building permit are proposed. So that change is just, we had a slightly different number. Instead of 10,000, it was a quarter acre, which is 10,890. And so it just puts it at a clean 10,000. And this is the same thing. So similar to preliminary plat notice to proceeds, we also have notice to proceeds for development plans. So we're gonna get the same change to this section here so that those are consistent that we talked about a minute ago. Okay. So here, this is, so we mentioned a minute ago, access management on track splits and that sort of thing where it occurs in that section. This is regarding commercial development, making sure that commercial developments are utilizing shared access drives along 102 collectors, etc. And so the comment here is just that A, B, and C that you see there that are boxed with the red box, those are currently in force in Title 9. And so we need to not regurgitate them here because Title 9 could change in the future. So instead, just a simple reference back to that so that he can evolve that as needed, you know, and if one of those numbers needs to change, it can, and not have to also change this code. And then also that note, we're putting a slash through that because residential driveways are not going to be handled in this commercial section anyway. And so we don't need to have that note in there. So.
I think that was everything.
There's just a few more highlights where I called out areas and everything else.
You run out of coffee at that page and.
Oh, then I got landscaping, that's where I'm not even pretend like I know anything about landscaping. That's why they met with Malcolm. What trees are gonna be too close to water lines, sewer lines, etc. I can't tell you, what trees what.
Any of them that grow down.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably about it, the CAD request on those items, so we'll get that CAD when requested by the city engineer. That falls.
There's some sections that have planning area there.
Yeah, and we'll just, we'll get that wherever that occurs in the code. Get those up too. I'll turn it back to you guys unless there's any commissioners, if you have any questions for me, we're here. But I'll turn it back to.
So the ad.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything. If you all have any questions.
Just as a reminder, maybe this has been said, not today, but in the past. 1506, it says reserved. Is that gonna be for?
It's just if there's some requirements, it just kind of leaves a space in there so that if there is something, a section that we need to add regarding. Their covered yeah, I kind of thought about the overlay district of downtown, what their requirements would be or something. I mean, there's going to be some of the zoning eventually. All right, next we're gonna look at zoning, but I would really like to tie You have one code and you're not bouncing back and forth. but-
All right. I am going to, it's supposed to have a public hearing, so I'm gonna open it up, entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
On a motion to open a public hearing for Title 15 code amendment.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing for Title Code 15. Is there anyone that's opposed? We are now open to the public for any discussion, comments, questions in regards to the proposal for Title 15 code amendment. Anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to come to the podium. Second call for anyone that wishes to speak. And third and final call.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to close. Is there anyone that's opposed? All right. So this will just be a recommendation.
Yes, to the council to adopt this code.
And will you have it ready by the 13th? That's a week.
Yes, sir.
No pressure.
I think they're ready to get done with it soon.
All right. So if there's no other questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion for recommendation for Title 15 code amendment to the city council.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Technically, we had a public hearing, so if you call for consistency.
Brendan
Thank you.
Swoboda,
Yes.
Kenny Davis.
Yes.
Joey Engel.
Yes.
Ben Lewis.
Yes.
Curtis Ramsey.
Yes.
Evan Murphy.
Yes.
John Sessoms.
Yes.
Greg Langford.
Yes.
Jeff Safer.
Yes. Thank you for all of the hard work. Thank you for all the hard work. And I know some of us had some input as well, so thank you. Under other business. Anything on the sewer? We're still just waiting. I know the mayor of Decatur begging for forgiveness.
No, I don't even want to go into.
You don't want public, never mind. So any other updates?
Well, I'll just give you, he did say they have turned in the request to ADH and DEQ to raise the permit to 5.25 million gallons. Right now, we're at 3.8. Feels very confident that that should be approved very quickly. The improvements are still scheduled to be complete at the end of the year, but as long as they have a plan and they get this approved, 88 will allow permits. But Centerton also has a few areas that we need to make sure that ADH is good with any bottlenecks, making sure we don't have any bottlenecks in our system. So.
Okay.
So Malcolm's working on that. So that I did also speak with the mayor that just because he's getting 5.25, we need to really look at the forecasting, what we have. Platted lots that are still left to be built on.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Are we all-
Things down the pipeline, final plat, things in construction and in.
It's 5.5 enough.
So that
What do you-
we know how long that capacity would be. with
Are you
lots.
basing it on approval date?
Which part? It's in different sections on, I mean, you've got.
No,
different.
no, but like, let's say you clear out everything in the queue and you get to new projects. Are you basing their ability to move forward based on their approval
Okay,
date?
the priority list
Mhm.
is based on approval dates and making sure that they have addressed all of ADH comments and ours.
Okay.
So we've kind of gone through and we've set a list of certain projects, and then as they get approved, then we'll move them up. So.
That's gonna be a big deal.
Yeah, June 6th, we have a meeting with regional planning, probably at Northwest Council, the different cities.
Awful and Decatur.
Highfield, Decatur. Gentry. So, and actually, they're coming here this time.
More to come?
Pardon?
More to come?
More to come.
Okay. Kayla, are you gonna
I'm hoping that that's where we're gonna get. I will be getting with regional planning and looking at the forecasting. Getting some numbers.
Taylor, are you gonna give us a overview of the downtown, or what do you wanna do here?
So the official RFQ for the ULI grant went out. It's set to close May 23rd. I think they've said that, what are you shaking your head for?
6 weeks.
It's 6 weeks, yep. I think we've already started to get some RFQs. ULI is handling the narrowing to like 5, and then we'll do interviews after that. So the official findings report, it's like 30 pages, I think, is in the packet. I think that's what
Yeah.
Diane has pulled up.
Just had the pretty picture pulled up.
I haven't had time to actually go through it yet. But I imagine it's much the same things I read to you guys last time.
Curtis, I don't know if you were on here when we went through this, but there's a whole effort, so if you didn't get a chance to read this, what the new downtown, we'll call it, looks like, which could incorporate the old downtown. And so, Kayla was able to submit, get a grant, and so, there was a lot of interview process, there was a lot of discussion that involved council, involved, planning, some businesses in town and some other things, so, now we're just waiting for the RFQ, and then we'll continue to move forward. If you have questions, ask Kayla.
At Walmart's, right?
Not till next week. Yeah, not till next week. I'm technically on vacation.
Yes.
All right, under announcements, the coffee with the mayor is this Saturday. There's a council meeting on the 13th.
For coffee with the mayor, I think, aren't they talking about the recreation center at the coffee with the mayor? So that's
Yes.
something cool and fun and exciting.
It's an engagement to go over some events, thematics and other things.
And then we have another one.
And then,
On-
so it'll be
25th.
mentioned at Coffee with the Mayor on Saturday. They'll show, I think they're presenting a PowerPoint, they have a PowerPoint. And then, the next one will be at council. They'll present it at council, show council, and people are more than welcome to come and engage there. And then on the 29th, we're doing in 5:30 to 7:30. Open where people can come in, and we'll have PowerPoint set up, and it'll be a conversational time for people to learn more about the recreation center.
Okay. There's, our next PC meeting is the 20th. If you can't be here, just let us know. And anything else from staff?
I got a quick question. What's the feeling on the Title 15 going to council? The buy-in, like, do we need to be there?
We should ask.
Are they gonna ask questions?
I have no idea. I would say that they would have questions.
You guys will
You
be
go
I
and tell
honestly
them
don't
I've been
know.
waiting for this for 10 years. It's probably longer than that, honestly, but yeah. I won't flex that.
I don't think it will be like it has been previously.
Yeah, and I think with Wendy.
They're going,
A
right?
lot more
I mean-
confident about it this time.
I think with Wendy being at our planning meetings and understanding what we're doing, where we're going, things like that, that she'll be an advocate for us. I don't want to speak for her, but.
I asked,
I missed that. I was asking.
I asked what.
We
what
just,
the
we just
pulse-
cast your vote.
What the pulse was for council in the Title 15.
We were just talking.
Okay.
So a couple of questions I have regarding what this change, this new law that just went into, was going to effect in August. My concern was like, we have to have verbiage in there that stated, you know, yes, we can potentially make changes, but if this goes into effect, and, you know, I talked earlier that there's a few pieces in there that's not very clear, and so my concern was, why are we waiting, and why can't we wait until after August to do this? But there's also things that need to take place ahead of time. So as far as my pulse, I can't speak for the other council members, but there's a reason why I come to these meetings. So I
appreciate it.
try to be as informed as possible. And I'm still working through Title 15, but as I have questions, they've been great to answer.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
Every city council meeting has public comment. Even if you show up, it's very early in the beginning, just come up and say that you're on the PC you've worked on this for 10 years, you're for this, you highly recommend it. You probably won't get to talk again after when they do it. That's for all 9 of you. You can all go do it. Take your 3 minutes.
Come in.
I'm scared to get up
You
there.
can come in like you're
I will
unhomed.
come up to the podium with a chair. Timer. It's gonna be more than 3 minutes, boss. It's gonna be more than 3.
Yeah, you better have some big old boys in there. If you're gonna come,
It's gonna be more than 3 minutes. Remove me.
Which one of y'all are gonna remove?
You're not a citizen, you don't count.
Oh, John, yeah, you're good.
Tuesday, do it anyway.
Until July.
Same time.
In what, 10 years to?
Gonna hurt.
Yeah.
If there,
To be Title 16.
if there are no other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Thank you, guys.
About some sort of. Something, Russellville, where.